Welcome to another episode of the Cash Café, powered by Butterfield. Here we talk all things money, how to make it, how to spend it, but most importantly, how to keep it. I'm your host, Terry Kay, and today's guest is Rael Iman of Iman Artistry. In this conversation, we talk all things beauty, from the OG bloggers on YouTube to the influencers on social media and the beauty trends on TikTok today. We also dive into what it takes to own your own studio right here in Bermuda. So, welcome to the Cash Cafe, Rael. You actually know I never called you by your name ever. Like the first time I got my makeup done by you, I just said hi, boo, or hi, friend, or hi, hun, or something like that. Like I never said your first name. But welcome to Cash Cafe.
Thank you.
You are so welcome. So, I actually want to just jump right into your story and like when you first started in the beauty industry here. What did you think the money would look like? Because I know people get into their different hobbies or their different side hustles and they think about the money. So, from your perspective, what did you think the money was going to look like?
I didn't think it was gonna look like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And other people didn't either. Like it just didn't seem feasible for the
Mm-hmm.
economy at the time. For one, the demand wasn't really there
Mm-hmm.
yet. But because I've always looked at what's happened internationally, because I know typically we usually catch on, right? I kind of saw what was happening out there first. And I said, I know I could make something out of this. So I knew initially it wasn't going to be like, oh my gosh, like quit my day job, like go, all in. But I knew that it was something there for me to capitalize off of.
And then, so speaking of like having a day job and doing this, I guess, quote unquote, on the side, what was it like for you to manage still working full time or part time while doing this on the side? And how did you figure out the best balance for yourself?
It was a lot. It was a lot of time management, especially because the job that I had, I worked from 9:30 until 6, and then I would still freelance after. So I would do clients after work at my house, or I would go to their location and be mobile. And then Sundays, which would be my day off from a 9 to 5, I would still be working doing Iman artistry. So it was no days off. But I genuinely like I had a plan, and I said I'm going to put in the work so that now, what are we 8, 9 years later? Yeah, now I'm in a position where I don't have to go as hard all the time.
So speak to me about those first, I guess, 1 to 3 years. Like when you were first getting into it, what are some of the things that you said to yourself? Like, because you mentioned the plan. So what did you kind of say to yourself in the beginning to keep you to get you to 8, 9 years later?
I'm a very visual person. Like once I write something down or I have it in my head, it's gonna come into fruition. So I think just me being self-motivated alone was enough to just keep me going. And also, like I said, I had a lot of influence from international, whether it was like we used to call them beauty bloggers back in the day. Like this is YouTube era. So I was very inspired by them. And then now we call them influencers. But just seeing their growth and where they were able to go with it, I was always in the back of my mind, like I know this isn't going to be a forever thing, but it's my stepping stone to get me to where I want to be.
Okay, and so when you look at people that I guess are quote unquote doing it big and you look at yourself, what are some of the, I guess, similarities to Bermuda's market to the international market? Or what are some of the big challenges that you've had to overcome that most people might not even think about or see because they think, oh, well, if that person's doing it, then of course we could do it here.
That's a great question. It's several. I would say the two biggest ones is accessibility. So I have to order in 95% of what I use on my clients. So that means whenever I travel, I have to get threes and fours of things, which means that duty is going up. And they tax higher on makeup. I've noticed that. Like even when I ship in makeup through whoever vendor I use at the time, I noticed that it's much higher than if I order apparel or something else. And I want to say somebody told me fragrance and beauty is taxed a little bit higher. I don't know why that is, but yeah, so accessibility for one. And then I would say two, market. So in America or anywhere else in the world, they have so much more clientele. You know what I mean? It's like millions of people. Whereas in Bermuda, we have what are we at? 65,000. Yeah, right. And then you have to take into consideration of those 65,000, let's say 50% of women. And then you have to take into consideration of those 50% that are women, how many are children that aren't going to be getting service and doing makeup.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you have to be realistic with that. But with that being said, I also do believe that Bermudians are very supportive. Like people people got a little touchy with that subject, but I think Bermudians do support the earn. And once people catch on, and I think when you're consistent, the people are gonna support you.
So speaking of support, like what has been, I guess, one of the biggest compliments or the biggest thing that someone's done for you that's kind of helped you get over a low moment? Because I know there's probably some lows that come with managing, from the beginning you were doing your day job and then you had this on the side. Now you do it full time. What's like, I guess, one compliment or one thing that someone's done for you that's made you like say, you know what, this is why I do it?
One, it's happened a lot. I will
Mhm.
say the support is very, very in abundance, and I'm very grateful for that. But one thing that really stands out to me, I was at Nova Mass. They had the launch. I had did the makeup, and I said I want to go because I just want to see the costumes. I want to see my work on the stage. I went for the experience. And this lady whose makeup I had done once for Nova's launch, like years ago, funny enough. So it was kind of like a full circle moment. She approached me and she was like, I just have to let you know. And this lady's old enough to be my mama. She was
Okay.
like, I just have to let you know that you truly inspired me. I did a radio interview a couple years ago, and she said, it was something that you said in your interview that truly inspired me to go off and do whatever genre she's in, like to go and do it full time on her own. And she said, after listening to your interview, like that really gave me the push. And she said, since then, I've been doing it full time. And I just had to let you know that you really inspired me. And I was like, what? Like, I was so taken aback because I'm
Right.
like, huh? Like, little old me? What are you talking about? So that's a big, that was a big moment for me, 100%.
I love that. And I think it's beautiful for you to say that and for anyone that's listening to this to hear that, because I do feel like we do got a stigma on the island of like we don't support our own, or we only support our own once they get to a certain level or they look like the people that we see overseas being successful.
Mm-hmm.
So if we think about the support that you've received in abundance so
Mm-hmm.
far in your career, I'm pretty sure there've been some moments where there's been challenges that you've had to overcome. And it doesn't necessarily have to be around people speaking negatively about you, but
Mm-hmm.
just like you having to find your own way and create a space because
Mm-hmm.
this doesn't exist here. Like
Mm-hmm.
being a makeup artist or being in the beauty industry wasn't or isn't necessarily a big career like an accountant, a
Mm-hmm.
lawyer, a doctor. So what have been some of the challenges you've had to overcome to kind of navigate and create your own space?
Okay. I would say sometimes throughout this 9-year period, I would feel like, has the industry plateaued a little bit? Like, what can I do differently now? Like, okay, this has been done, that's been done, we've seen this, we've seen that. Like, how can I make it different? How can I keep people engaged? How can I make it interesting? So I would say, but it's funny because I feel like that makes it challenging, but it also like it keeps me going because every time like a challenge is always going to be something great that comes from a challenge, right? So I
Right.
feel like it's teaching me as well so that I don't stop learning within the field. But I would say that's a pretty big one. It's just trying to keep it different and trying to keep people interested and just even your services. Like, yeah, it's makeup, but we're not doing it like we was in 2022. Like, how can we make it different every single year and better and elevate it?
I love that. So speak to me about how what year did you start? Let's
I started in 28 2020. Wait, hold on. Let me do this math. I started when I was 21. I'm 29. So what that makes?
so that'd have been like 2018.
Yeah, so I was right.
Yeah,
Okay.
you was the math was mapping earlier.
Was mathing.
And the reason why I wanted to ask that is because I want to talk about like what you have done in those 8 years to improve your skill set. Like,
Mhm.
are there courses you've taken? Is there people that you've kind of tried to connect with? And what are some of the things that you've learned from 2018 till now that has changed that you maybe wouldn't do now that you did back then?
Um, a lot. So, for one, the skill set, I think because I'm self-taught, I feel like in a creative field, that's the best way to learn because you really get to just adapt your own style. and it keeps you transformative and you keep learning versus learning by the book. I feel like you learn and you think, okay, this is the blueprint, this is what's going to work, and this is what we're going to keep doing. So me being my own like teacher, if you will, I feel like I'm always wanting to learn. I'm like, okay, what's next? What's new? How can I expand or advance my skills? I haven't did a intensive one-on-one with like another makeup artist, but that's something that I would like to do in the near future, hopefully this year, with someone overseas. But and then I would say we have it at our fingertips, right? So I'm always on my phone, on TikTok, on YouTube. I still watch YouTube videos to this day. So University of YouTube. But yeah, I'm always trying to learn or just see how I can get my skills to be better or just give a better service to my clients, whether it's through service or product.
So speaking of product, because you do have your own products, and I want to talk about that journey, and specifically, one, when did you realize that you wanted to pivot into, creating your own products, and then what was the plan? Like, what was the strategy? Like, how did you get from, okay, this idea to actually having product in your hand?
So what made me want to do it is, for one, my son. So when I was pregnant, when I first I learned that I was pregnant, LOL. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go on maternity leave. So that means 3 months minimum of not servicing clients. I'm like, how can I create some type of income while I'm gonna be at home on maternity leave? And I was like, products is the best way to do it. However, I was already in my mind thinking that that was something that I wanted to do, but my son definitely just gave me that, like, that little nudge. So from that, the Iman collection was born, and I did it like maybe 3 months. I launched before I went into maternity leave, and it did really, really well. And from there, I've just continued to expand what products that we do have. And yeah.
So speaking of that, specifically, when you think about, the types of products you have, so I know I've seen a lip gloss, I've seen eyebrow pencil, I've seen brushes. How do you, I guess, decide the product you want to do, and then like how do you determine like what flavor of lip gloss you're gonna do, the type of brushes you're gonna do, like the brush tips, like because I feel like as a novice and someone who goes to a makeup artist asking or getting my makeup done, I'm just like, I sit in a chair and you do you, and then everything else is finished. But I know when you're creating a product, there's some things that you probably are thinking that you want to put into this product that makes it unique to you. So talk to me about like how you made those decisions.
That's such a good question too. So I am a firm believer in that the best products on the market are always going to come from a makeup artist. If you look at bigger picture, look at the items in Sephora. I feel like back in the day we used to have like go-to brands that are still really, really good, but now it's so competitive because you have Makeup by Mario, Patrick Todd, Danessa Myricks, Pat McGrath. Like, people are coming out with these brands that are excelling because a makeup artist is gonna look at the best products on the market, and then they're gonna fill the gap because they're gonna see, okay, like this product's good, but I have to mix it with two other products to make it one.
Right.
You know what I mean? So a makeup artist is always going to give you the best items, especially because they're also using them every single day. So when I look at some of my favorite items, I always put it up next to my items. Like, I want to make sure that my cosmetics are on par or even close to. Like, I might not have the $1 million budgets, but I have to make sure that my products are performing up to that standard.
Okay.
So that is how I would say I try to, keep my stuff flowing really well. And then also, I think of what the average makeup wearer utilizes most.
Okay.
So, or even someone like yourself, like you said, you're a novice, but like, when you look to get your makeup done, the first thing you're going to want to do is like your eyebrows, or you're going to need tools to put on those products. So that's why I came out with stuff like a brow pencil or a brush set, beauty sponge, So I try to make sure that I'm catering to everyone, but also having really good products because I have to make sure that I can use them too. Because if I can't use them, then what's the point?
Right.
So yeah.
So thinking of someone like myself who is a novice who usually comes to the makeup artist anytime that I need my makeup done for a special occasion, what are some conversations you have with your clients when it comes to, the product that you're putting on their faces, or like why you chose and okay, let me take it back a step. do you ever have conversations with your clients where you end up explaining to them why you're using certain products or why, this is the best product for their skin type, et cetera, et cetera? Or do you just have clients that usually just sit in your chair, let you do your work, and then go about the day?
I have both. And I like both for different reasons. I have the chill clients that come and they say about 2 words and they just let me do my thing. And then I have clients like you.
Mhm.
You come and we yap, and I have to tell you not to talk when I'm doing your eyebrows just so you don't move them.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you have the best of both worlds, which is great because sometimes I feed off of my clients' energy, and like you come in with your energy and you're asking me these questions and you might re-inspire me in a way that you didn't even know that you could. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Or you're asking me about my journey and I'm remembering like, whoa, like a few years ago, like I wasn't in this studio. Like this was
Mhm.
just a thought and now we're here and it's in
Right.
fruition. But then I have the clients that just sit there and just want to let me paint the face and then they get up and they go.
Right.
So it's the best of both worlds, definitely.
So you mentioned something just now around, being in your space, your studio now. Talk to me about, I guess, in the beginning, you did mention that, you would either have clients at your house or you'll be mobile. And then what was that timeline like between the time that you were still being mobile or still doing things out of your house to actually get in your studio? And what was the catalyst for you at that point that kind of told you or made you believe that, now is the time to take this next step?
So 2018, like I said, I was doing my 9 to 5. I was working at a department store at a makeup counter, and that was my stepping stone. I knew I wasn't going to be there forever, but I knew I needed to build up my clientele. I needed to get my knowledge, and I also needed to perfect my skills. So that's exactly what I did when I was there. I stayed there for 3 years. So that takes us to 2021. 2021, I left. This was like height of COVID, which is wild. Like, why would you leave your dedicated income
Yeah.
to then quit that job during COVID when you can't do makeup? Anyway, I had a plan. So yeah, I left in 2021 and it's so funny, but 2021 was really like the pivotal moment for my journey. Like that's when I started like skyrocketing. Like I started seeing numbers I had never seen before. I started seeing clients I had never seen before. Like the demand was just at its peak.
Mm.
And I think it was because we were locked inside our houses and any opportunity could have been this small that we got to put on a little heel and some blush. We was excited. So people was booking appointments for anything. And then also too, COVID also showed us that we have to celebrate any win, no matter how small it is or how big it is. And I think people started to have throw events and parties for any occasion. So that, of course, comes with getting your makeup on because there's going to be photographers there and people are going to be having the phones out. Anywhere
Right.
it's a camera, you're going to want to have your makeup on.
Right.
So that, like I said, was 2021. That's when things really took off. I was still working from home, but of course, working from home and living at home and having all these people in your space, it's a lot. It's a lot of energies, it's a lot of people. And I just knew that it was time for me to separate work and home.
Okay.
Because I also became a workaholic because I'm working and living in the same space. So I was just always working. Like people could call me same day bookings or an hour before they needed the appointment. And I just would never turn it on. And it didn't help that I loved it because never felt like work. So I would say maybe 2 or 3 years into that journey, I was like, yeah, it's time for me to get a studio. And so that was like the catalyst, that moment where I was like, okay, we have to get a studio. So I started looking around. I spoke with some realtors and that's how we ended up
Nice.
on Artistry Studios.
Nice. I love that. And I think it's actually inspiring to hear that because I do know some people, when they think about their side hustle or side hobby that they have, they think it might just be, just this thing that I'm going to do on the side and that's it. Like I can never make it full time. So for you, what were some of the things that you had in your mind that you had to keep telling yourself that this could be and this would be my full-time gig at some point? And what steps did you take as far as like the planning? Like when did you know this milestone or I made this amount of money so now I can do this next thing? Like what were some of those conversations you were having with yourself to kind of keep you going?
That's another good question. I would say one of the things that kept me going, which is how I knew it would work, is because when I would work for a week at my 9 to 5, my paycheck would be the same as me working one day on the weekend freelancing. That's when I knew, oh yeah, like this this is gonna work.
Yeah.
Like it's not just a thought anymore. Like I'm actually seeing it. So I knew that the demand was there. I just had to get myself into a financial position where I was comfortable enough to leave because of course you have the consistency or the reliability of like you're gonna make this X amount of money every week when you work a 9 to 5. So I knew that being an entrepreneur, sometimes you have really great weeks and then sometimes you have okay weeks and then you have weeks that might not be so great, you know? So yeah, like I said, it was just getting myself into a financial position where I had to save up enough lump sum of money to be like, okay, I've got some time to play around until we can make this a consistent check going forward. But that's how I knew that it was more than possible. Yeah.
So did you ever have like, okay, I need to see 3 months worth or 6 months or a year's worth of like consistent clients before I know I'm ready to take the leap? Or did you kind of feel like you talked about, within 1 week versus 1 day, you knew that the money was there. So you knew you could make the money. But like, did you say to yourself, okay, if I can do this for X amount of time, then I know I can do this? Or did you kind of just like say, okay, yeah, we're just going to do it?
The reason how I knew that it would work as well is because so when I was at that 9 to 5, I would still be servicing clients through the week, but they would be coming to see me at the makeup counter, which was such a tease because it's like I'm doing these clients based on my skill set and my service, but the company gets to reap the real benefits of the real reward of it. So based on that, I was able to say, okay, well, if I'm doing 7 clients, 1 client a day. Let's just say I was doing 1 client a day at the makeup counter. I'm like, okay, well, I will be getting those same clients if I was freelancing. Plus, I'm still got the whole weekend to go. You know what I mean? Which is a guaranteed fully booked period.
Right.
So I'm like, this could like the math is starting to math now. So it just got to a point where I got my name out there enough and I had promoted enough where I knew that I had the clientele to sustain my expenses.
Now, you mentioned something about promoting yourself. Now, talk to me about what that looks like for you as a makeup artist, a business owner that, is slightly different from when you were working for your 9 to 5. Because I'm pretty sure working in a department store in beauty is commission based. So I know you have to do some level of sales. So talk to me about that difference on how you promote yourself, if there is a difference. And then, how do you keep yourself relevant and in anyone's mind when it comes to makeup on the island?
Honestly, Instagram. Instagram is and was the way that I got my name out there. Like even when I was full time, I still had Iman Artistry, and back then it used to be called Iman Artistry BDA. But I dropped the BDA because I'm like, I don't want to just limit myself to Bermuda. So
Right.
yeah, I when I tell you I used to post consistently, like I was probably that girl on Instagram irritating people because it's like, okay, girl, we get it. Like we see your business. But I just y'all was gonna see it.
Right.
I needed you to know. Like anytime you think of beauty, I needed you to think Iman Artistry. So I used to get on Instagram, post, make sure that the captions were captioning, hashtag everything, tag like beauty brands so I could get more recognized through that. Everything. Anything I did, I posted on Instagram, beauty related.
I love that. And so when it comes to, putting yourself out there, did you ever have a moment where you maybe were doubting yourself or maybe had like that imposter syndrome? Because, anytime we see anyone in any space doing it well, we see their success and we think some people may think that they're an overnight success and others know that there's a journey that takes them to get there. Did you ever have moments where you were like, I don't know if this is really going to be a thing for me, or I don't know if I'm going to be like so-and-so beauty influencer? Like, did you ever have those moments? And if you did, what were some of the things you told yourself to make sure you always stuck to the wicket?
It's so funny, but I didn't.
Nice.
I really believed in it. And you know what? I had my mom's support like backing me 1,000%. And I think that alone was enough. It really was. Like if once I cement something into my head, it's gonna happen. And don't let me write it down. It's really happening. Like I don't play about damn girls. But I will say that sometimes like maybe other people's uncertainty might have swayed me a little bit, or people thinking like it's not a real career. That might have impacted me a little bit because I'm very like goal oriented or like success oriented.
Mm-hmm.
So other people maybe deeming it as not a real job or like, you know, I don't think that's a great idea type of thing might have made me feel like, well, I'm not saving lives. Like
Right.
I'm not degreed in any way. So like,
Right.
is it not that big of a deal? But like, yeah, it is. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Especially when you start seeing certain certain like you start seeing certain what's the word I'm looking for? Like when you start hitting certain milestones, you
Right.
realize like, no, yeah, this is a real job. You know
Right.
what I mean? Even when I have first time clients come into the studio, they're like, wait, so like people book you like on a weekly basis? Like you have the demand to have a studio? Like a lot of people can't quite wrap the mind around like, how are you a full-time makeup artist? Like that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's the demand is there.
Right.
Like creatively, I think that people are starting to soar more in
Mm-hmm.
Bermuda, and I love to see it.
I love to see it for you too, because I know we've had conversations. Obviously, I am a yapper, as that's why I'm host of the
Yeah,
show.
we love it. Yeah.
But so one thing I did want to touch on, because I know we talked about your journey from taking it out of your home to having your studio,
Mhm.
and I want to touch on. You just mentioned the demand that people have for you as a makeup artist, but
Mhm.
also specifically how you view the career of a makeup artist. Like when you first started, how did you view it, and how do you view it now in the how you talk about it to other people? Because I do feel like you did mention like other people's uncertainty around whether this is a real career or not.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure in 2018 the way you were talking about it is probably not the same way you talk about it now. So talk to me about that and how your language has changed when it comes to talking about your career.
I think before I was more like, how do I say it? I've always been extremely passionate about it, but I think before it was from the premise of like, wait, she's done it, so I know that it can be done. Now, when I speak from it, I'm speaking from experience and I can speak with more confidence because I know that it can be done because I'm literally a living testament
Right.
of it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like now when I say it, I think I can. I don't even want to try to convince people, but like I I guess it's more believable
Mm-hmm.
because they're like, okay, she's just not talking. Like you can see that she's been able
Right.
to create a life for herself with makeup artistry.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's actually, for me, is so cool to see because I've lived overseas and I've seen, yes, I do remember the beauty bloggers on YouTube. I still follow them to this day.
Same.
But it was interesting to be out there living in that space and seeing people like literally going out to events and meeting these people and like knowing that they're real people, like tangible, and
Mhm.
then coming home and then seeing similar people to those people that I would see overseas and just not seeing the same confidence in them that I would see in those overseas. And then also just the people around them not really wanting to support it at the time. And
Mhm.
I think now,
Mhm.
because we've seen so many successes overseas and more importantly, we've seen so much success on the island that I
Mhm.
feel like everyone's kind of got to that point where it's like, you can't deny the success that yourself and other people on the island have been able to cultivate for themselves
Yeah.
in a space that quote unquote was not a real career.
And no, it's not quote unquote. It wasn't. Like at one point if you were doing it, you were doing it as a side hustle. Like it was not a full-time thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall even having an example locally to look up to at the time.
Right.
Like I know that there were other like it's a lot of OG makeup artists that were doing it, but I don't think it was anybody's full-time job at the time. I think it was like weddings or um graduation or like when things started to have more of a demand, but I don't
Right.
think that anybody just did it just day in and day out.
Right.
But it's definitely a market for it. 100%.
I love that. And actually, one thing that you mentioned just now that I do want to touch on a little bit more is the special occasions. And I feel like most people naively or ignorantly would assume that makeup artists are only busy for those type of events, right? That's the
Mhm.
only time you're busy. So you might misinformedly think that you guys don't have the demand, like you mentioned, or you're not needed Sunday to Monday, I mean, Sunday to Saturday type of thing. Can you speak to what it's like to have to manage some of the low times that you quote unquote wouldn't be as busy when it comes to, because now you have a studio, you have bills that you have to pay, not just for your overhead that you have your products that you have to get. So talk to me about how you manage your cash flow, and or how do you decide, okay, when's the time to like ramp up the amount of bookings you might have, or when it's time to like pull back because you know the market's gonna go up or down as far as like the demand for you.
So December is one of those like super crazy months. So actually, I would say January too, because sometimes the Christmas party season kind of overflows into January. So that's that time of the year where you want to go as hard as you possibly can, especially because you know after that period, people are going to start slowing down a little bit more. Most people start holding onto the coins a little tighter, you know. Kids are going back to school at that point. You know, people have more important things to worry about
Right.
rather than just getting the makeup done. So I would say during that period, it's like I said, I go hard, and those funds typically are able to comfortably get me through that more slow period. But if I'm being completely honest, I think offering such a broad range of services, it puts me in a place where I don't have a slow season. It gets more flexible, but I wouldn't call it slow. And I say that because one of the services that I offer now is more chair makeup. And so that can be anytime. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean it's going to be just for a particular month, but something like that can keep me afloat during the periods where people may not be booking for special occasions, but people might be wanting to book their loved ones for the funeral. You know what I mean? And then also the cosmetics, that's also something that helps to kind of keep me afloat so that you have more than one stream of income. And bridal, that's another big one. People are getting married any time of the year. Like bridal season used to be April through I think September, but now people are getting married in December, January, just any time of the year. So that's another thing that helps to definitely help with income.
Let's be real. Money can be confusing, and many of us were never really taught how to manage it properly. That's why I appreciate tools like Nudge. Nudge is a financial awareness tool that helps you understand your money in a simple, no pressure way. It acts a bit like a personal money coach, sending you timely, personalized nudges about things that actually matter to you and your finances. You also get a personalized feed with easy to digest money tips, real world stories, and tools that help you stay on track, whether you're trying to save, pay down debt, or just make better money decisions day to day. Because when your money feels more manageable, your life just feels more enjoyable. Head over to nudge.butterfieldgroup.com to register today. When you hear about certain creatives and certain industries, you do know that there are just peaks and lows. There's times when they're going to be really busy and times when they're going to be really not as busy.
Absolutely.
And I love that you have incorporated things into your business that allows you to kind of be like an all year round type of business, so that you're not feeling kind of those gaps as much as if you would if you didn't have those things. And one thing I do want to ask you is the services that you provide, how do you keep them, I guess, how do you manage the different ones that you have, and how do you put those out there? Like, is it just like people come on your website and they'll see these services that you offer, or when you're out maybe at a bridal shower or at another event where you end up talking about these different things that you offer to get people to kind of like check you out outside of just doing their makeup?
That's another good question. I would say both. I think having the website was a huge investment for me. Because now people can go on there and browse my services, but they can also book my services on there and pay their deposits. Everything's securely done in one spot. Versus before, I was doing this whole like deposit transfer, having to check my account. Did they send it? Did they not? What's the name of like the website has been a huge godsend, like the best investment ever. Um, so the website, yes, people can check out services, but it's a lot of people who don't know me still, you know? So when I go to these bridal bookings, I might know the bride, but I might not know three of the bridesmaids, let alone her mom and her auntie. Like, you know what I mean? So it's always opportunity to get your name out there even more. So when people see me and then they see my work, they're like, wait, how old are you? Especially the aunties. How old are you? And I tell them how old I am and how long I've been doing it. And then we get into conversation and then they start asking me about other things. So then I tell them, like, I don't just do makeup, but I do master classes so I can teach you how to do your makeup. I offer a personal shopping service so I can take you to the store to go and buy the correct products and get the right tools and shades. And so it's always a way to just keep getting your name out there. Like, as small as Bermuda is, do not let people make you think that everybody knows you because they don't. Okay? They don't.
I love that. And actually, one thing I did want to kind of circle back to was in the beginning of your career, what is one money lesson that you learned, or the biggest money lesson that you learned that you now make sure you always incorporate in your business that you probably didn't think was a money lesson or something that you needed to kind of carry early on, but now you know better, so you do better?
I would say separating funds. That's a big one. I've always been the type of person where I'm good with managing money and da 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 da. But it's like, no, girl, put that money in a separate account so you can see, like, no, my business makes XYZ. Because Iman Artistry's money is not my money.
Right.
And that's something that I had to teach myself because I'm like, yes, it is. Initially, yes, it is. I'm the owner. I
Right.
do the work. I'm the employee, the salesperson, I do it all. But it's like, no, when you see that money in a separate account and then you have to transfer the money over into your personal account, it makes you realize, like, this is its own entity. Like, yeah, I might work for the business or own the company, but those funds are separate. So I would say that was really, really important. Because once you start just lumping the money together and you're shopping and you're grocery shopping and you're doing online purchases and trips on the same card, from the same pool of money, nah.
So speaking of that, what are some other systems you put into your business that keep you operating at a level where your business can be separate from you? Like, as far as, because you did mention, working from home and making sure you had the studio allowed you to kind of separate the two. So what are some other systems you've put in place to make sure you always keep the two separate, not just the separation of the funds, but like making sure your tasks, like, do you do your tasks like at work, in the studio, or do you sometimes take those home? Like, how do you keep yourself making sure they're both remaining separate?
That's a good question. That was a hard one for me. And that's something that I still kind of struggle with because I'm a retired workaholic. Like, it was really bad. But having a child will force you to create more of a balance. So I would say now, like, having the studio helps me to, okay, when you're there, you're working. When you're home, you're chilling. But then even when you're home, you're on Instagram, you might see something that you're inspired by and you pull out your notes and you're like writing them down for lunch or whatever, so it's like my brain is always going. But I think having the studio and then my home space has helped tremendously. And then also, like, I have a timer in my phone. So when 5:30 hits, an alarm goes off and it says, like, Iman Artistry is closed for the day. And that's something that I had to do for myself because if not, I would just work. Like, just continue to work. It's bad.
And I feel like a lot of millennials and probably Gen Z as well have that kind of mindset mentality, because I think when you go to school, you have to go to school, you have to get a degree, you have to kind of do all of these things. And I think you subconsciously get programmed that you have to work all the time. And so I do appreciate that, you recognize what that was like for yourself and you started to put in your own boundaries to kind of say, okay, this is what I need to kind of make sure that I can separate both of myselves from each other, because at the end of the day, you're still the same person. It's not like there's another person that's the employee and you're the boss. Like, there is still that separation. So I do want to speak to, you've grown yourself to be able to have a studio, and you did mention that there is demand for you to be busy all year round. So what does, I guess, expansion and growth look like for you now in the studio? Like, what are some things that you think you're now ready to work towards doing in your business?
Love that question. So it's really important for me this year to find a second makeup artist. That's something that I wanted to do last year. It was on my to-do list, but I didn't quite find anyone. So I would really love to be able to have a second makeup artist that is my, go-to for if I can't take any more clients. I'm not available, but she is. Or when I have a bridal party that's too large for me to do by myself, she's coming with me to do these clients. And then eventually I want her to build up her own clientele and be able to take on her own clients. And we have a profile for her on the website. You book which provider you want. You want Rael or you want whoever the girl will be.
Mm-hmm.
That way I can expand because you truly can't do it all by yourself. I'm
Mm-hmm.
one person with two hands, so I can only take on as many people as possible, which then puts me at a cap. So if you want to be able to grow, I have to have somebody come on board with me to do that. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? So that's a huge one for sure. I would say that, and then just continuing to expand my product line.
So, with that in mind, what are some, I guess, not just characteristics of a person, but even with expanding your product line, what are some things that you're having in the back of your mind of what you're looking for,
Mhm.
even if you don't necessarily know who that person is just yet? Like, what are some things that you're looking for of that person? And when it comes to when you're ready to expand your products, what are some things that you're maybe looking to expand to when it comes to your products?
So I'll start with products. Something that I would like to expand with is just getting into like more complexion products, which is really tricky because the ingredients and the skin types, it gets really, really tricky. So it's been something that I've taken my time of dabbling into, but that is something that I would like to tap into a little bit more this year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then also just having more interesting packaging. I like the look of like the Lux Clean feel, but I do want to get into things that are like a little bit more customized, if you will. So it's not something that we've seen before. You
Okay.
know what I mean? So like it still looks like the Iman collection, but it's like a little bit of a twist to it in a way.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I would love to do with my cosmetic. Well, I will be doing because we speak things into fruition.
Yeah.
And then service wise, for the person I would like to bring on board, like characteristics, I need somebody that's a people person. That's really important. She doesn't have to be a yapper like you and I,
Mm-hmm.
but I do want her to be like friendly and inviting. Somebody who um like sterilization and just like cleanliness is really important to them. That's a big one. And then somebody who also is just willing to, bend and twist with like the changes in beauty because it's constantly changing. Like sometimes I'm even like, okay, I'm tired. Like we know how to beat a face at this point. Like you let's just making things up.
Right.
But I have to still stay on top of that because I might have a client that sits in my chair that says, "Oh, did you see this or did you see that or can you do this or show me a inspo look?" And because I'm not staying up to date, I don't know what's going on. So I'm like, oh, I can't do that. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be able to always band with the trends, and I want the person that I bring on board to be able to do that as well. Like it's important to have your own style,
Right.
which I love, but I also think it's important to be able to advance, with technology and trends as they come about.
Speaking of trends, how do you, I mean, you did mention that you sometimes are on Instagram doom scrolling or scrolling and taking your notes. You got the inspo from TikTok and, clients come in with different things. But do you have time that you dedicate to like doing that research and trying to see like what is trending? And then how do you decide a trend that you like want to take on personally? I mean, yes, a client's going to come in and ask you to do something, but like, are there any trends that after you've done like your research and you've seen them, you're like, oh, this is one that I actually want to do, like for
Mhm.
me personally?
Yeah. So whenever that happens, I would message somebody like who might have like a really nice face to do. I've done the face before, and I would say, "Hey, like, can I practice a look on you?" And I still do that to this day.
Mm,
So I would say that is when I would like want to try something out, or like even if I just want to refresh my content a little bit, just put something nice on my page where I don't have to do the look that somebody's booked, but I could get to get a little creative with it.
right.
Yeah.
And so how important is it for you to be able to have those moments when you can be a little creative and kind of go out into like your own little sandbox and play? Because I do
Mhm.
feel like, yes, when clients come in, they do have either an occasion that they're going to, or they have a look that they want because they're going to a specific place
Mhm.
or to a specific thing.
Mhm.
But how fun is it for you to be able to like just be creative? And how often do you do that?
It's so common and it's so important because when you're working, you're under a time crunch. So, like, although you're enjoying yourself and you're talking to people, you still have to be very cognizant of time. So sometimes that gets stressful because
Hmm.
then you talk so much that you look and it's like 30 minutes are going by and you're still on her eyebrows.
Right.
So it's like sometimes that gets it can get rigid. Whereas having somebody come in, you got to relax and take your time. You could take 2 hours to do her face, if you really want to. That way you get everything exactly how you want it. Take the angles, lights on, lights off, low light, you know, ring light, everything. So
Yeah.
it's better for me creatively to do it that way because I got to really take my time. Yeah.
Now, one Cyrus I did see on your website was around like I think it's like a party that people can do, like a happy hour type of vibe.
Yes.
And recently, Valentine's Day just passed, and I have seen a few people do like different classes around Valentine's Day. So for you, when it comes to people that book this specific like happy hour events or like girls events, do you often theme them, or do you allow the person to just like come in with their friends and then just have their moment, or is it like collaborative where you and the person that's booking it maybe decide if they want a theme or not? Like, how do you, I guess, work through that particular type of booking?
So that booking you're talking about is called Pink Friday. And I did it with the intent for people to get their makeup done before they go out for happy hours. So it was kind of like a pregame slash like get pretty before you hit the club type of thing. So it didn't really have much of a like a theme apart from it just being on a Friday and pink being my favorite color and like it kind of encapsulates the branding color and the feel of my business. But if somebody wanted to do something like Valentine's themed or whatever, I'm happy to accommodate where I can. So it doesn't have to be just Pink Friday. Like we can make it however you want it to be.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So, we've kind of talked about your entire journey from 2018 till now. And you are a person that writes down your goals, you speak them into existence, you have these plans for yourself. And I'm pretty sure you have a plan for the next year to probably 5 years. So I want to know, like, how do you define success now? Because I'm pretty sure maybe when you first started out and you were having your day job and this was a side hustle, maybe your success was, to go full time, or maybe it wasn't. And then it developed over time. But now that you have achieved that particular goal and milestone, how do you define success now? And like, what does your new plan look like?
Another really good question. You're good at this. But I would say success for me now is working less. That to me is real success. I love what I do, thankfully, so it doesn't feel like work sometimes it feels like work, I won't lie. But working less is definitely the goal. 100%. So like I said, like having somebody come on board would lessen my load, or even if I feel unwell and I can't work, she can be in the studio. So that means money's still being generated. Or if I go on vacation, money's still being generated because it's somebody working in the studio. So that for me is a big one. And then like stepping away from the everyday client coming in to getting the makeup done for an occasion and stepping more into just bridal and maybe more cherry makeup. Like long term, that's where I want to be. Like right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's interesting because I do feel like, there is a type of makeup artist, right? Not everyone's the same in general. And then I'm pretty sure, like, just learning through my conversations with you and then obviously seeing some of the beauty bloggers, understanding that, everyone, quote unquote, has a niche, right? And so for yourself, when you think about, what your long-term goal is, speak to me about, I guess, if someone wanted to connect with you and someone wants to, maybe there is your next person to join your business is watching this, and it's just like, what, or he, because I don't know, it could be a girl or a guy.
Yes.
And they want to get in touch with you. They want to like learn what more about you and how to connect with you. Tell them where they can find you and tell them, what's the best way to contact you. Because I know sometimes people might say, okay, well, you can get my money DMs on Instagram, but that might not be the best way that you want them to reach out to you. So let them know, like, how they can connect with you.
So on my website, I actually have a tab called Employment Opportunities. So they can go and fill out the form there. That's probably the most professional way to do it. But honestly, if somebody hit me in my DMs, I wouldn't be upset because I do a lot of my marketing there anyway. So you probably came across something that made you say, hey, like maybe she does need help. Or maybe it reminded you because you saw something that I posted.
Right.
So I wouldn't even be upset if somebody hit me up on Instagram. It's not formal, but I don't think that is unprofessional in any way. So if you hit me up with interest on Instagram, but then we took things to, a more professional level, I'm going to email you to correspond, or you're going to come into my studio so that we can meet in person, not a problem at all. So if you hit me up on Instagram, that's fine. But if you want to do things a little bit more professionally, then like I said, you can go on my website and fill out the form.
I love that.
Or just email me.
Yes. And the email's on your website, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So as we wrap up, You have a wealth of knowledge, not just in the beauty industry, not just as a makeup artist, but as a entrepreneur, as a solo entrepreneur. What's one piece of advice you would give your younger self that you've learned over your 8 to 9 years that you didn't know, obviously, when you first got started, but that is one key piece of business knowledge or just personal knowledge that has gotten you through your 8 to 9 years?
One piece of advice I would give to my younger self would be, well, for one, the separation of funds.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely say that would have been more beneficial to have learned and implemented earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say that, and then also I think maybe taking that one-on-one class earlier. So, like I said, I want to take it this year. That's something that I would like to do. But I think taking it earlier wouldn't have been a bad idea either.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because who knows, that could have connected me in ways that I don't know about. You know, I could have been working overseas. Like you just never know what can come out of an opportunity like that. So I think maybe dabbling into that a little bit sooner. But those are the two things that come to my mind first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, once again, thank you, Rael, for joining me today on the Cash Cafe. This was obviously, well, we could yap for days, girl. And we'll yap next time I'm in the studio. But thank you once again for joining me.
Yes, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Cash Cafe powered by Butterfield. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the Irie98 YouTube channel so that you never miss a new episode. Until the next conversation, peace.